I see my name in shining lights. Yeah, a different city every night. Oh, I swear the world better prepare for when I'm a billionaire.
It's time to get down to business on the weekend's #1 business program. Known as the King of Networking, your host Shalom Klein has worked with thousands of entrepreneurs and created countless jobs. So, to success. Let's get down to business.
And indeed, we are all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. In business, we talk a lot about business here. You're on with Get Down to Business, and I am your host, Shalom Klein. Remember, you can always download podcasts from Get Down to Business on my website at shalomklein.com. So today we've got a fantastic lineup in store, and I've been really, really excited about this conversation. I have Edith Vosefski, who just released her new book, The 9 Lives of Curious Edith. Edith is a lifelong educator and therapist, as well as the founder of Northern Illinois School of Etiquette. And she is an individual who is an eternal optimist. So, Edith, such a pleasure to have you on the program.
Well, thank you.
And I have to say that, I don't ordinarily call out people's ages over here, but I feel you deserve it over here. You are anticipating your 90th birthday, as I understand it. Edith, what's the secret?
Oh, well, it's having a good attitude and not letting life get you down. No matter how tough it is, you have to find a way to adjust your attitude to know, in my case, I believe that the Almighty will help you every time you need help. And my faith has kept me going.
That's fantastic, Edith. And so let's get right into it. You are certainly, I hear it from even our initial conversation, an eternal optimist indeed. But you wrote this book. Why did you write this book? Especially as I understand it, you wrote it with one finger. If you don't mind, Edith, talk us through the process.
Well, that's absolutely correct. I had a stroke that affected the whole right side of my body to a certain extent. And I also have very bad arthritis. So my right hand, and I am right-handed, became very, very stiff and swollen. And I decided that I had one finger that was still very flexible. So why not use it? That's all it took was a little grit. I just had to do it, and, why be feel bad about it? That just makes your life miserable.
So I have to say, Edith, the title itself stirs some curiosity. The 9 Lives of Curious Edith. Where did that come from?
Well, you can blame one of my doctors on it. The book is dedicated to 4 of my doctors. After I had the stroke and all the aftermath, I developed Parkinson's disease. And that, of course, makes you have all kinds of tremors and that sort of thing. And when I was very, very ill one time, and I wound up developing pneumonia, so that I had pneumonia 6 times in 7 years. And my doctor said to me after I'd spent 2 whole weeks in the hospital, and I followed up in his office, he said, Edith, you are just like a cat. He said, you're so curious. He said, you study everything that goes wrong with you, and then you come in and you tell me what I'm going to diagnose, and you turn out to be right. He says, I've never seen that much curiosity in a patient, nor have I seen such a tough old lady either. He said, you have more than 9 lives. I swear, no matter what we doctors do, you're going to probably have 12 lives before it's over.
Oh my goodness. Edith, you are an inspiration, Edith. Again, I'm chatting with Edith Vosefski, the author of The 9 Lives of Curious Edith, and again, 90 years old, which is incredible, and wrote the book with one finger. So, speaking on that title, 9 Lives of Curious Edith, we covered the 9 piece of it, but why is it good to have curiosity and humor when living life? Is there an anecdote that perhaps you can share with us?
Well, I've chosen one that's a very short one. I made up my mind early in my motherhood that I did not want to ever yell at my children, that I had to remember that they were just equal children of God, and therefore I shouldn't shout at them. And one day, when my son Stephen was almost 4 years old, I was dusting in the room, and all of a sudden I heard this odd noise, and I thought, what's that? And I turned around to look, and Steve was standing in front of a mirror that went down to the floor, and he was spitting on it. Now, my first reaction was, this isn't good. And I almost said something that I shouldn't have. And then I thought, no, calm down, Mom, calm down. And I went over and I very quietly said, Steve, what are you doing? And he said, well, we are spitting at ourselves. And I said, oh. And he looked at me like I didn't understand. So he proceeded to tell me, he said, well, see, there are 2 Stevies. There's the one that's standing here, and then there's the one in the mirror. And he pointed at it. And he said, I wanted to find out if we could spit it ourselves. And I started laughing, and I said, well, okay, if that's giving you some fun, you go ahead. But, you have to have a little responsibility about it, too. So I want you to go into the bathroom and get a towel and come back and wipe the mirror down when you're through playing with it. And that's just was kind of a typical way I tried to keep myself under good control and be an example to my child, that I didn't have to get angry just because he was doing something a little bit.
And that's why they call you the eternal optimist. Again, I'm chatting with Edith Vosefski, the author of The 9 Lives of Curious Edith. Really fascinating background. And as we wrap up our conversation, I understand that you are a former school teacher, and using that background and using obviously the messages, including those anecdotes that you just shared with us, Edith, what is the message that you want readers to take away from the book?
Well, I hope that the readers will enjoy the book as a good, true memoir of my life and find inspiration that I have acquired in 90 years on this planet. I found too many people are afraid to ask for help. And sometimes many of the things that make us miserable can be solved just by learning to change our attitude. And if you're going to be happy, it's a choice. And every morning when you wake up, just greet the morning with a great smile on your face. And if it's sunny, thank God that it is. And if it's raining, thank God that it is, because it's giving us water, growing our food, and there's just nothing to be unhappy about unless we decide to choose unhappiness.
Edith, it's a great message. So we are just about out of time. The book, The 9 Lives of Curious Edith, I know can be found wherever books are available. You've got a fantastic team, Edith, and a great message. So I want to thank you for joining us on the air. An interesting message, a unique message for our entrepreneurs and our regular listeners of Get Down to Business. We've got a lot to learn from you, my friend. So thank you very, very much indeed. And please come back in the next decade to share more of your writings and more of your inspiration. How about that?
Well, thank you. And I appreciate your having me on your program. That's very, very nice.
Absolutely. Again, Edith Vosefski, find the book, The 9 Lives of Curious Edith. And we'll be back on the show all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. We're going to squeeze in a very quick break over here. But Chicago, don't touch that dial. You're listening to Get Down to Business. I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Get on my website, shalomklein.com, to download, rate, review, and of course, share the show and the podcast all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. We'll be right back.